Hello, I'm Jenna Joseph, and this is my rhetorical analysis of my essay that I wrote in class. AP Rhetorical Analysis Scoring. So, to understand how to really get a good score on these, I don't know if I can do this that well. You need to understand how the AP Lang rubric works and how the exam works. So really the exam has two parts. It has the MCQ and it has the essay portion where you write 3 essays. And we are practicing in class how to write the essays, obviously. And in order to do well on these, you need to do what we're doing now, which is basically create them according to the rubric. So now I'm going to be walking through my grading process, how I understood the rubric for my rhetorical analysis essay that I wrote in class. Okay. First point, which is the thesis. So the rubric, this is the professional rubric. It basically says that if you do not have any thesis whatsoever, you don't get the point. And like just don't restate the prompt. I did not restate the prompt. That's kind of hard to do because the prompt is just explain rhetorical analysis, whatever. But I thought that my thesis was easily identifiable. I highlighted it right here. Let me read it because this was my whole introduction. My thesis, which is at the end, was Capote uses strategies such as tone and hyperbole to manipulate his audience into falling in line with his emotions, keeping them on their toes and eager for each word. You can see clearly that my thesis is that he uses tone and hyperbole to get the audience to understand his point and to feel his emotions. Definitely not perfect. As you can see here, I said that it's not perfect, but yeah. There's a thesis. Goodness, okay, so while I did provide a good thesis, okay. So while I did give an easily identifiable thesis that had claims like tone and hyperbole, I definitely think I could have gone into more depth on the thesis instead, because I feel like my thesis was very short. Like I was going to rely on my next paragraphs to really do all the explaining when I should have added more in my thesis instead, even because it was super short. Like, here's my thesis. I already read it to you. I'm not going to read it again. But yeah, so therefore, I will give it a good, the scoring rubric, I gave it a good, I checked off the good things. So yeah. The next point is evidence. So this fun little rubric on the page here. So when it comes to evidence, in order to not receive evidence to get 0 points, is to literally have no evidence. I had evidence. I put quotes in my thingy. I actually used 3 quotes. The first of which didn't really add much to what I was trying to say. Let me pull up my essay really fast. Look at this. Okay, this is my essay. This is the second paragraph. I use this essay to add to provide like the purpose and exigence behind the author and like add extra context. And right here is my first quote that I used. I used it. Let me show you how I used it. Okay. Remembering Willow, the purpose behind writing this text was to honor her life, which could have led to the demise of Capote's due to the pain of losing, start quote, one of my Capote's first intellectual friends, end quote, age 20 Capote. So I kind of used that to add evidence that like this woman was very important to Capote and that her death was incredibly significant to his life, which can be seen by the fact that in the introduction to the text we were given, it literally says that he died after he died from writing this or something, which I feel like wouldn't be important if it didn't relate to the text somehow. So yeah. But the rest of my quotes, my second quote right here, I explained it. I said this quote proves how much he idolizes her, as seen with the fact that he had a picture of her in his room, which is what he said in the quote. And then the next quote, there is no living person I would rather have met, no Garbo or Gandhi, or Einstein or Churchill or Stalin, which Capote mentions names that everyone should know, names that are taught every year in history science classes at schools, comparing them to Willa Cather, who, no offense, is not nearly as popular or influential as these people who have literally changed the world. So, and there's more to that, but so the first quote really does not have much of like an explanation to them, and not as much explanation as the last 2 did, for sure. But back to my presentation, let me start it from right here. So 3 quotes were used. The first one was kind of there, second was good, third was good. The second and third kind of explain the reasoning. Let me show you this fun transition. Scoring. By the way, this is the scoring that I've been using. So I was able to provide reasoning behind the second and third quotes, which is good. I'm only going to give it a good because the first quote was kind of just like proving something. I didn't explain it that well. I feel like I could have definitely incorporated that one better, but because of that, I'm just going to give it good because, yeah. Oh wait, I already did this. Okay. Commentary. This is the third thing on this rubric. Does the writer explain how they analyze the evidence to support their reasoning? So this is kind of going off the evidence, like explaining the reasoning behind the claims they made, why they said this, and how. it's kind of hard to do bad on the commentary if you did good in the evidence. So automatically from there, I know that I didn't get like a non-existent rating. But anyways, right here, I added a paragraph because, okay, so this was like a quote I added, and then my reasoning behind adding the quote and why it's important, etc. I added that right here. I don't know if I should read that out loud. I'm gonna read out loud, but sped up. Example, I had a photograph in my room, for instance. This quote provides how much he idolizes her, as seen by the fact that he had a picture of her in his room. As young and very influenced adolescents, this is not uncommon. In fact, many to this day still do this for their favorite celebrities. This relatability is prevalent for the audience, and surely some can relate to this level of idolatry. Resurfacing this emotion, but I'm surely receptive for others by making it labels to the audience to fully understanding how he felt about her and how the audience really felt about their favorites. Commentary scoring. This is another, this is another quote in my essay. So the first quote had the exact same problem where it wasn't explained that well. It was kind of there. So I feel like for that reason well, actually, never mind, wait. So the quote itself was not explained that well. Like the reason it was there, like that is explained pretty well. Like the leading into it is pretty good. Like, let me read what I wrote here. Like the first quote had been explained well without context and reasoning. Okay, so I feel like I did not have much of a reason to give less than an excellent on the section. Yeah, I gave this one an excellence because I felt like my explanation for each quote was solid. The first quote, there was explanation in the paragraph that solidified its reasoning for its existence. So yeah, let me read this. To analyze the text properly, one must take into consideration the thoughts behind the text rather than the ones in the front of our eyes. Hippolyta's exodus lies in the title. Remembering with the author. The purpose behind writing this text was to honor her life, which could have led to the demise of his Hippolyta's due to the pain of losing, quote, one of my Hippolyta's first and fruitful friends, end quote. This text talks about the interaction that sparked their relationship with Cather for the purpose of remembering her as a kind intellectual friend, as well as an idol to many. It can be assumed that the audience was fans of Cather or Hippolyta as well as the public localized in New York, as seen by the fact that this auction there and the story takes place there. Understanding these factors can help us tremendously in understanding the decision he would make in writing itself. Rhetorical choice number 1. My first rhetorical choice was rhetorical choice number 1. My rhetorical choice that I first used was tone, which I described as idolatrous, using idolatrous tone to kind of enhance how he felt in the moment. And here is another paragraph that I put in here that I don't want to read. That was the choice that I had given, and this is the evidence. This is the support. The highlighted part reads, "This relatability is prevalent for the audience, as surely someone could relate to this level of idolatry." So like kind of making it relatable, you know. So in the first paragraph with the quote that was kind of weird. I talked about the purpose and exigence, and like what I was trying to tie everything back to, which is like the purpose, like to honor her life, to show like his relationship with her and how close they were and how much she meant to him. So coming to this first choice, tone. I'm only gonna give it a good because I feel like I could have tied it back to the purpose a lot better or like a lot more clear. Because now as I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, this is the purpose. I could just write that into there. Like, let me see what I said. Like I said, resurfacing this emotion for him, surely reserved it for others, by making it relatable to the audience to fully understanding how I felt about her and how the audience surely felt about their favorite. So like, enhancing how I felt about her, but like, I could have added more. I could have made it more like specific, easier to grasp. So I'm really gonna give it good. Rhetorical choice number 2. My second rhetorical choice was hyperbole. So like exaggeration, really like, so I put it here like, wait. So I didn't add the quote, but I added the reasoning behind the quote, which is right here, like, to juxtapose her along with these people could obviously emphasize his feelings about her and how she had likely changed his world, as he also said there was no one else he'd rather meet. So this is, you know, he's juxtaposing her with like Gandhi, saying she's more prevalent than she'd rather meet her than Gandhi. But so this is like the second rhetorical choice. He's exaggerating. My scoring behind this, these fun little images. Anyways, so at the start, I said this a million times. I talked about the purpose, the exigence, the audience, etc., and so it's the same issue as the last one. I didn't directly connect this to the purpose. I could have been more clear with my language. I could have said this ties back to this purpose, but I didn't. So I'm going to give it the same score. I'm also going to give it just a good, yeah. Sophistication. So this says that like to get the points you need to, does the writer reflect on the complexity or depth of their thinking about the rhetorical situation? So kind of more about like an in-depth explanation, like do they really understand what's going on, context, etc. I added like I said, I added that paragraph that had the purpose, the exigence, the audience, those 5 main things that we saw in that video we watched with the first part in class. I tried to define those first to kind of get a good background going, and I feel like that kind of helped me establish my understanding, like the depth of my understanding of the text given. But that is not a lot, and it wasn't very prevalent in the rest of my writing because we had 45 minutes and I was very tired, so I procrastinated a little on the writing, and everything was very to the point after that second paragraph, after that first like body paragraph. I gave a brief intro to the paragraph, gave my quote, explained the quote, and then I moved on. It was very, very short. So I feel like I didn't show that much in-depth understanding because of how brief it was. So I gave it satisfactory, not like needs improvement because I did add background, but satisfactory because I could have done better, but it wasn't completely like not there. Yeah, that's what this slide is for. I don't know why I didn't press it here. It's a fun little hand. Yeah. Number 7, creativity and neatness. Does the PowerPoint presentation show creative effort and visual organization that supports the context? So you cannot read these arrows that well. But so there were 7 points on this, and I feel like I organized it well because I added 2 slides for each point. One briefly explaining it, and the second one explaining my scoring behind it. And then the second reason, so like to get the non-existent rating, the PowerPoint needs to be missing, incomplete, or lack organization or visual effort. The presentation's right here, PowerPoint's right here, and it's not incomplete. There's 2 more slides after this one, and so I would say there's visual organization because, you know, I explained 2 for each point, and I added some design. As you can see, this is blue. I tried to add blue to every slide to keep it, you know, organized in that way that they're all blue and not just different colors. And also these fun little arrows, these fun little cute arrows with a brain inside the middle, and the picture on the last slide, and etc. And the transitions, for example. Creativity and neatness scoring. So I gave it a good because I feel like, because on the to get like excellent, it says that you need to enhance the understanding in a polished and professional. I'm not really in my most professional polished outfit right now, and I feel like the video I'm making is incredibly professional. So I feel like it lacks some professional. If I just gave you the PowerPoint itself and there is no actual presentation, then I would say like, yeah, this is pretty professional. But yeah, so for that I gave it good. I said it because most slides support the content efficiently, and the presentation is organized, visually clear, etc. But there are definitely some things to work on. Anyways, thank you.